arm's length from government. You are the government.
SSMO.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Attorney-General. Attorney, right now, thousands of Tasmanians with fixed-term leases are living in fear. Tenants on fixed terms are frightened that if they try and enforce their most basic human rights under the Residential Tenancy Act for things like repairs, the right to quiet enjoyment or protection from unreasonable rent increases, that vindictive landlords will evict them at the end of the lease. And with an incredibly competitive private rental market, where demand far exceeds supply and prices are going through the roof beyond the reach of ordinary Tasmanians, eviction risks homelessness. It is not surprising, therefore, that frightened tenants are not making complaints to the Residential Tenancy Commissioner. Currently, any tenant can be evicted at the end of their 12-month lease agreement for no other reason than that their lease is ending. But tenants on non-fixed term leases, tenants can only be evicted because they have committed a breach, or the landlord is selling the property or undertaking significant renovations or using the property for another purpose or having a family member move in. Attorney, do you agree that security of tenure is important for Tasmanian families? And will you commit to amending the Residential Tenancy Act to provide tenants on fixed leases with the same protections against no-ground evictions as tenants on non-fixed leases?
Honourable Attorney-General.
Well, thank you, Mr Speaker, and I thank the honourable member for her question. This is basically what we debated in the House yesterday, Mr Speaker, and I did put our position forward as a government and very clearly that I'm in the process of reviewing the Residential Tenancy Act, not least of all in relation to the issue that's been quite high profile in the media and certainly raised by the RSPCA, the Tenants Union of Tasmania and many others in relation to pets in rental properties. The debate yesterday, I don't want to reflect too much, but I will refer to the fact that it was raised, that very issue about unreasonable rents, and I responded to the House during the debate of your motion to the honourable member, Ms Johnston, that currently there is a process. I know that it was raised by Ms O'Connor that a lot of tenants are fearful of any sort of reprisal if they do make that complaint through the mechanism that's available for the Residential Tenancy Commissioner to review a complaint of unreasonable rent. I went through the figures, Mr Speaker, of those that have been, or the number of complaints that have been considered in the most recent year for statistics 2021-22 financial year. Also, of those applications, 2 were found to be reasonable, 6 were unreasonable, 21 were found to be partially unreasonable, 1 related to an invalid increase during the COVID-19 emergency period, 6 were withdrawn or lodged outside the prescribed time, 2 of the outcomes have been appealed, 1 of which has been discontinued and 2 submitted in the current financial year are under assessment. Now, I did obviously encourage tenants to come forward and make a complaint. The process, as I understand it at the moment, is that a landlord can't, just thinking of the word, Mr Speaker, can't respond in a manner that would be reprisal in relation to that specific complaint.
Until the lease ends.
Certainly under the Anti-Discrimination Act too, there would be provisions that kick in too. So I am looking at all of this. I did say to the House that obviously we're committed as a government to reviewing the Residential Tenancy Act, and I also went through, Mr Speaker, importantly, the significant support that our government provided both landlords and tenants in the COVID-19 period through our COVID funds, the Rent Relief Fund and the Landlord Support Fund, and as a total we provided the sum of $4.356 million to assist with rent. We also put a rent freeze on both with respect to residential and commercial tenancy properties. So there was significant relief that was provided during that difficult period for tenants and landlords, and what I would say is that demonstrates our government's commitment to striking the right balance when we're looking at a review of the Residential Tenancy Act. We don't want there to be perverse outcomes, Mr Speaker, so that's why we're looking at what we can best achieve so that we can have that balanced approach between the rights of landlords and tenants. So, as I said, I'm not sure that one was mine. As I said, Mr Speaker, I thank Ms Johnston for her question, and I repeat what I said yesterday, that we're currently in a review phase of the Residential Tenancy Act, and I will be taking into consideration all feedback that we receive from all stakeholders and the Tasmanian community.